So I think I'd like to say that Big Sean and Eminem, no favors, was, I believe, a really good track. And I felt that they really did come together and collaborate in such a way where it worked very well as a unit, as a team, because these two artists emphasize lyrical capabilities, you know. And Eminem comes from the old school, you know. Big Sean probably was in some way, shape, or form influenced by Eminem because they're both from Detroit. But nevertheless, these two artists emphasize being a strong lyricist, which, in my opinion, is a sharp contrast and direct opposition to the direction that the rap community is going. Mainstream rap is going. With these artists like Future and Lil Yachty and Lil Uzi and all these little rappers. It's not really a major function of what makes you an artist these days. And not to say that these artists don't make good songs. It's not to say that these artists don't have talent. It's just something that has not been emphasized in, the past decade of hip hop, in the past decade of the rap culture. Lyricism, if that's even the word, has just not really been a major priority in the rap community. And to see Eminem and Big Sean make this track and just have it be so much about lyrical gymnastics and punchlines and metaphors and analogies, and makes you think, right? That's almost a breath of fresh air for people like me, because that's what I'm into. I'm into music that makes you think and kind of is almost mental flexibility. It kind of is an exercise when you hear these types of songs and wordplay and things of this nature. And of course, with him saying "fuck Trump," I think that really is what brought this song to the peak of popularity, despite it really being just a phenomenal track overall. But by him saying "fuck Trump," I think that really aligned Eminem with one of his greatest character traits, is that, he always stays in the loop with things, regardless of where he is on the timeline. He finds certain celebrities, certain personalities, certain public figures to mention in his songs and in his freestyles, and all of a sudden people were talking about Eminem again. And this is kind of how he stays in the loops, how he stays popular. So big kudos to those two, man. And I actually have to look into Big Sean's album personally to peep all the other tracks. But from what I hear good things. So next thing, man, Lady Gaga's performance, man. What could I say, man? I mean, congrats on her comeback, for real. I mean, I've always known that Lady Gaga was a phenomenal performer, right? And I think she really outdid herself, on this Super Bowl performance, because the past few years of these concerts at these Super Bowls have just like been, I don't know, falling way below my expectations. I think that, last year's performance with, I think it was Bruno Mars and Beyonce and, maybe a couple other people, not to say that Bruno Mars and Beyonce aren't talented artists, but I think that in terms of creating a very entertaining and intriguing performance, it just didn't really get to that level of where I was compelled to watch it, compelled to like see what was gonna happen next. And Lady Gaga had that effect. And she was feeling herself, man. You could tell she was feeling herself from not only her vocals, from how she was speaking, from how she was moving, from everything. And it was really well put together, I thought, and regardless of, whether or not people were going to clown on Beyonce or put Beyonce down, look, they're both great performers, great artists, just, you know, regardless of what people may think and, their personal preferences, they both did well. It was just, in my opinion, I was really satisfied with her performance last night. I really did feel that it was, and overall, actually, the Super Bowl, was actually very entertaining this year, and that's something that I've noticed from, the commercials to the sport event itself, right? It kind of kept people on the edge of their seats, even though I pretty much knew that the Patriots were going to win, even though they were getting their asses whooped, all right? But, there is a funny dynamic in these sports sporting events that it has to be very suspenseful. It has to be entertaining. It's all about entertainment, but this one in particular, man, like I said, from Lady Gaga's performance to the commercials that were being aired to the sporting event itself, it was just really, really entertaining this year. Okay, so I'm gonna just leave it at that, and we could talk about all the deeper implications of what took place during that event elsewhere outside of this video. Okay, so, and aside from that, I just want to say that it is happening. It has been happening from what I've understood and from what I've been saying in terms of this economic crisis that we are in, and the fact that people all around the world, countries all around the world, are losing confidence in the US dollar, right? I think about 23 to 25 countries thus far are pursuing different forms of trade outside of USD. They are dropping the US dollar. They're saying, fuck this worthless fiat currency that is unsustainable. I don't care. See, people don't know this. Well, some people don't. That the USD, the US dollar, is the world currency. So if people choose to stop trading it, stop using it, then it has global consequences, right? And to say, fuck this world currency, fuck that, I don't care about it, it's unsustainable. And, besides the fact that this whole travel ban, right, really was, I think, the last straw for the Iranian governments, because they were already planning to, kind of depart, have a exit out of this exchange and trades with the currency. That was kind of the tipping point, I believe. They were like, okay, if you're going to have a travel ban, if you're not going to allow, our trade, global trade and business, travels and things of this nature to happen, then you're just complicating our already broken economy that we're trying to fix. So fuck the USD. We're not fucking with you. And I think that, unfortunately, it's going to have some negative implications here soon enough, because, look, Russia and China, okay, and even places of Europe are doing similar things with the currency right now, is that they are attempting to, I guess, wean off of the USD because it is so unsustainable and it is kind of heading down the path of destruction, right? But those countries that are doing this and have been doing this are superpowers, right? Almost. They are very much more of a threat to the US than Iran, right? And like I think it was what, Iraq and like Libya, okay, when the leaders of these two countries attempted to become more self-sufficient by dropping the U.S. dollar and create, more independence and sovereignty to their territories, the U.S. went after their heads. All right, Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein were publicly assassinated. All right, I don't know what's gonna happen next with Iran, but I will say that, I believe, actually, I was reading something that the Congress basically allowed, I believe it was aggressive force or some type of permission to enable U.S. forces to pretty much do whatever they want, and they've always been able to, but it is now a bill that has been enacted into an act, right? So we're gonna see how that pans out, and I do truly fear for Iran's well-being, because the fact is that all of these places around the world that just do not have a lot of economic sustainability, all right, and do not have a lot of power economically, because they cannot compete with the Western monopoly and the currency they've created. They have a lot of resources that are very much depended on by the American people, whether it be oil, whether it be, whatever. There's a lot of places around the world that we consider undeveloped, but are plentiful and abundant in these resources. So to challenge one of the biggest trading partners in the world, such as America, and to say, you know what, fuck your bullshit fiat currency, we don't need it anymore. That is threatening to the US, and usually in underdeveloped countries such as Libya, such as Iraq, such as Iran, it is managed through brute force, okay? In contrast to places like Russia and China that have more clout and have more power, it's managed a little differently by the US, right? It cannot be conducted in the same way that they would handle Iraqi and Iran opposition, right? So we'll see, man. Like I said, though, ultimately, Iran is one of the newest places in the world that have withdrawn their loyalty to this currency, and they have lost confidence in it. And they already have. It was just like I said, this whole travel ban was a tipping point. And this travel ban, you have to understand too, it's caused a lot of turmoil in the stock market. Like, I think we was down, like 200 points or something. So, there's a lot of repercussions to these things that, the Trump legislation and Congress and, things of this nature are approving right now and trying to initiate in the long term. It's causing a lot of, bullshit, and we'll see really what pans out. But ultimately, Iran is one of the newest regions to officially lose confidence in the US dollar. And I believe here soon enough, it is going to be a growing trend. And there's going to be more and more places around the world that are going to give the middle finger to this fiat currency.